Hi, welcome to the Wealth Rules podcast today. It's Thursday, and today we have a really great show. I'm Vickie Helm. If you haven't met me before, welcome to the Wealth Rules podcast. And I'd like you to meet my co host and one of a great friend. I'd like you to meet Monique Wright. How are you today? Welcome to the podcast, love.
Good morning and terrific Thursday to everyone. I know we hate adding adjectives to weekdays, but it is a wonderful, wonderful day, and we have an amazing topic today, and I'm super
We do.
excited about it.
Yeah, we do. I want to talk about this right now, and I want to dig right deep into it. I have a lot of questions for you and me, and I am going into this. So, one of the things that happened to me just recently was I found a money block. As late in life as it is, I've made a lot of money, etc. I was telling you about it, and I want to talk about it right now because you never know what money blocks are sabotaging. I have my notes down here as well. I'm looking down, are sabotaging your wealth or your potential. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to share with you that I'm going to be very open and very transparent, and
Always.
so is Monique. We are going to share with you the blocks that we see in wealth, and they happen to women a lot. There is a lot of money blocks for women. Why? Because we are the first generation that's allowed to own, that's allowed to have. Your grandmother couldn't have a checking account unless her husband said so. They couldn't have all kinds of jobs. They were exited out of all kinds of things that we have now, that we have access to. So today I want to start out with this. What money blocks are sabotaging your wealth? And let's sit down and unearth
Mhm.
some of them, because they're quiet. They're quiet self-saboteurs that we believe that may not be true, but we do believe them. And I want to start by asking the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least and 10 being the most, how safe do you feel with your wealth and your wealth plan and your wealth mindset? How safe do you feel with that?
I can honestly say today a 9, 6 months ago a 3.
That's interesting because I want to know what changed. And I'm saying a 7 right now.
Hmm.
Used to be a 10, but AI came along and it literally shattered the industry I was in, and it turned everything upside down. And I was like, okay, so things are different right now. And so I'm feeling at about a 7. And
Hmm.
things have shifted and changed. What particularly went from a 3 to, did you say a 9 or a 10?
A 9.
9.
So originally around 6 months ago,
Mhm.
I was emotionally, financially charged. Like I was a complete mess. It wasn't even my finances. It was my idea of what finances was being turned upside down, was being challenged.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was market heavy, but I could see that the market wasn't the way to go. It was just intuition. I just knew. And over the years, I had continued to ask my financial advisor, what about this? What about that? And it was always the same answer. It's too risky. It's too risky. But when I'm investing on my own, I'm investing in crypto since 2012. When it's 2013, 2015, 2018, you're still telling me it's too risky. We had like fired 3 financial planners because I asked a lot of questions. And so I think the uneasiness and why the number is so low is because I couldn't find the answers to the questions that I wanted, that I was asking. And I was in the private market, and the shift from from the public market to the private market when I initially did it was this. It was very sexy. It was, you had to go online, you had to send your documentation from your financial planner saying that you are an accredited investor, that you were able to make, 400,000 a year. and that you had, 2 million plus in assets. Like it was just like a qualification.
Yeah.
So it was all sexy, the terminology and everything. But once you enter the room, it was like it's private market at a higher price earlier in, and the hotel deals and the apartment deals that we were into. And I think I told you this before, but my financial planner or our money manager at the time, all these different names that just get sexier and sexier, came to us and said, hey, we're doing this deal for the hotels overseas. Are you interested? I'm raising my hand. Let me in. Whatever you're doing, I want to do it too. That was the first mistake, because I got to the meeting and you had to invest 60 grand, which is okay, that's fine. But it's the first round. So they've got to try to get more and more people to become investors in the second and third round. And we had to make sure that they had the right licenses. And I thought everything already had been taken care of. You're just ground level right now. It's a great idea. Nothing was already done. I didn't have the property constructed. I didn't have the concierge at the bottom, a property manager. And so I started thinking, hey, if that's what you're investing in, and it's not a good plan, what is really going on? So like myself and so many others, what happens is you start going online and start searching stuff. So your phone will send stuff to you. Right.
Yeah.
And so like if you continue to search on Reddit, Reddit's going to send you to the same group of people all the time that, you can see that you follow and give great information and everything. And so everyone is online early in the morning after we left our jobs and our status and nobody's looking at us. We showered, hair is down, clothes are off, red bottoms are thrown in the closet. It's just us and our naked selves. I was like, wow, I'm on here with everybody else and nobody has the answers.
Oh.
They're hiding it from us. Now, the men were more settled. And after, conversations on wealth rules, I get it now. So the women are getting the wealth. More women are in the public market than the men, like 77%.
Yeah.
And we're just being told, hey, now we're feeling like we're smarter, we're more knowledgeable. The Magnificent Seven is doing so well. But I still feel uneasy. I was like I had NVIDIA. I want to name the companies because this is not financial advice. But I was feeling a certain way about how my money was going. Fast forward, prayer, divine intervention, link up with the independent women. Vickie, your magnificent way of mentorship and the way that you were speaking to the women in the group. And I knew then that I needed to invest in land because I wasn't going to be moved by the market if I knew what to do with my land. So I wanted to make sure that my family was fed because I knew that the fertilizer is only going to feed 6 billion, and when there's 8 billion people out here, like I'm doing the math, nobody's going to feed us. So I started saying, I can take my land and feed my family. Then I had to get out of the situation I was in with my house. My home would not allow me to grow my own food on my own land. I didn't have ownership there. It's all permission based. And so the mindset shift and the growth within myself, right? Not even financial growth, but it was the mindset shift and the ability to say, you don't have to depend on a financial advisor to manage your money and to give you the answers. There's a blueprint out there. But like when you hit like 250, so I want to say 700,000, there's this market that just drives to you and tells you, get in the public market, sit at these meetings, invest in this.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you what the ultra high net worth earners, the billionaires are doing. They're not going to say invest in water rights, invest in land. No, invest in the market and invest in the deals that are going to keep the economy moving and give us your savings and give us your other things. And
yeah.
the reason why I'm at a 9 now is because I'm at a different place now. Now that I have land, I can think of 9 different ways to use my land.
Yeah.
and that gets me excited. I'm like, well, and I already had like crypto, I already had digital assets, I already had gold stuff, I already had numismatic. Like I have commodities, but I didn't feel safe because I was more market heavy.
I totally get that. Women are very market heavy, and that is dangerous. I'm hearing a bit of feedback again, but I'm going to just keep going. So, one of the things I want to talk about is the quiet self sabotage that happens. I just can really hear that feedback right now. Turn down the volume, see if that works. One of the things that is super important that we understand is when we sabotage ourselves quietly. So, I want to share something with you that's very private. I came from a very violent home, and my dad was a all-girl dad. There were no men there. There was no male counterparts in the house. He was a girl dad, and he was mean to my mother and abusive and everything else. And he wasn't sexually violent, but he was just violent. Like he'd knock you in the next week anytime you want. So there was a point where there was a lot of damage. And so statistically, they tell you that when kids go through what that kind of life, they don't excel, they don't succeed, they are often addicted, sometimes to alcohol or drugs.
Mhm.
And I don't like the taste of alcohol. Thank you. Thank you. That is one of the best gifts you can ever have because, I may have an addictive personality, but if I don't like the taste of something, it's not going down. So I'm
Right.
very glad that I don't like the taste of alcohol and I don't like the taste of beer. I just,
Mhm.
anyway, so I was lucky in that I achieved and I overachieved. And I guess what they told me later, like when I was in college, is that maybe less than 1% of the people who have been through the traumas we've been through get to this point. And I was like, oh God, I didn't know that. I was so young. But what happened from that
Mhm.
is that I became a people pleaser very quickly. Like
Mhm.
I could look and see my dad start to escalate. And my job was to figure out how to calm him down so he didn't escalate and become violent. And so I spent a lot of time people pleasing him. And that's how I thought you were supposed to be in the world, people pleasing, just calm down, especially men. Men escalate so they can get their way that way. They're just, wow, they can
Mhm.
escalate from nice to violent in no time. And I couldn't stand that. So when I was done and I started making a lot of money, hey, Kathy, nice to see you on. Thanks for joining us today. So, what I saw when I saw people make a lot of money and I started making a lot of money, um, I had this guilt I didn't recognize.
Mm.
For decades, I carried this guilt
Right.
because my family members weren't making it. They were struggling and they had
Mhm.
all this trauma. And lucky for me, I sought help with the trauma at 18. And from 18 to like 35, I was constantly in therapy working through that stuff. And every time that I worked through it, I broke through my potential, grew. I wrote more books, had more businesses, had more success, made more money. And somehow, when I did that, the other members of my family were not happy with that. They
Mhm.
were not happy with me succeeding. Now, on one hand, they were proud of me. You go, girl. And
Right.
then the other hand, they were like, what are you doing? And give us some money. And the thing was, over here, what I started seeing was that I felt guilty. And I realized that I had survivor's guilt. I had survivor's guilt. Like I was the one that made it. I was the one that got out of the wreckage okay. I was the one that got out of the wreckage without losing my life or something. And so suddenly I was capping how much money I made. Like, so,
Mhm.
I remember at one month I had a really good month and I made like about $750,000 in 30 days and doing some deals and everything else. And I was so proud of how that turned out because there's a lot of negotiation or
Yes,
whatever else. And
yes.
I was so proud. Hey, Nisha, I was so proud. And the stupid thing I did was I wanted to tell somebody. I wanted somebody to be proud of me. I
Mhm,
wanted somebody to say, "Way to go!" And so what happened was the second that I told, I wanted to tell my sibs. My
mhm.
siblings are, you want to tell a
Yes,
family member.
yes,
You
yes,
want to tell your mama because you want them to be proud of you.
yes.
That's what I wanted. But instead, it was like letting a cat out of a bag because, it was 1 month of that. And I had, 12 other months where this was going to be. So I was having a really big multi seven figure year and everyone knew it. And from that point on, I would hear from back channels, i.e.,
Mhm,
my nephews or something,
mhm.
mom's really mad at you. And they're like, why? Well, if you made this much money, you think you would give her some money for free because she's struggling. And I was like, oh, and I didn't realize
Mhm.
that that thing, but I could feel the sting of that guilt. Like, you aren't supposed to get anything or make anything or have anything unless it blesses everyone. And so I had heard these more than once in my life. And I'd heard, you're going to put her through college, then her through college, then her through college. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. Everyone can do what I did.
Right.
And so what happened was I started capping my potential. Instead of
Mhm.
having that $30 million company, you have that $5 million company because that is what your guilt can allow you to have. And it quietly sabotages you. And, maybe you're doing better than your siblings or better than someone else, but money blocks that block your wealth or block the growth of your wealth often come from places where you're looking at your wealth and saying, okay, if it makes everybody mad, I'm a people pleaser. Here's some money for
Right.
you. Here's some money for you. Here's some money for you. And you're not investing or reinvesting that money. You're trying to people please people who don't give a crap about you,
Mhm.
or they do give a crap about you in a certain way. They love you, but they don't really care whether you're happy or you're. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. And this week I wrote an article, and one of it was about, and I have a big family too, but I also have a lot of friends who have a say in how I move sometimes. And
Yeah.
so I had to check that because as long as I'm spending money, as long as I'm shopping, as long as I'm giving and being a blessing, then
Yeah.
it's fine. But when I start saying no, when I start saying I've got to do something different, they have a problem with it. Now, everybody knows I have children. So why would I give you money when I got children who have needs and wants and things like that?
Mhm.
But no, you've got enough where they're okay. We need. And so when I wrote the book with you, we co-authored Hidden Rules, my first number one book, it's like, oh my God, you have, the tears that I wrote about. And it doesn't feel good when you have people who, so what I was talking about with duplicators is this. I had people that said, oh, well, like I can do that. Or, how come you didn't ask me to write a book with you? And I've written a book before. Okay, it wasn't number one. And so I knew where the energy was coming from. It was
Mhm.
coming from a hurt place, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I could do that. That's not such a big deal. And I saw you on social media and you were posting about it, just trying to downplay the success. And then you have people who are like, well, Not only can I do that, but I can do it better. I can do it better, faster, quicker. I know more people. I'm more famous. I have a
Mhm.
network. I'm in a sorority, all this type of stuff. And I'm like, we're not even in competition. You know,
Mhm.
our mission isn't even the same. Instead of rooting for you, why not? And then I have some deep rooted ideology about money too. I felt like you needed to spend it instead of deploy it. Instead of giving,
Interesting.
yeah, instead of giving your money an assignment, I felt like, okay, when you got money, you needed to pay the bills, make sure everything was good, go buy a new car, get the latest phone, make sure your kids were going on vacation, all these things. Instead of giving it an assignment to draw and create more money from where that came from.
That's right.
So I never really thought about building wealth in the sense that we're talking about today.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of people that were upset about my success had those same thoughts. They grew up and they inherited this premise where you really can't be wealthy. Or if you do, like you said, there's a threshold. They don't want, it's fine
Yeah.
to win as long as you have a job, as long as you went to college, and as long as you climb the corporate ladder. When you start being independent as far as your work, your money, your thoughts, it creates a problem.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that that wasn't for me.
And I really wanna be specific here. These problems don't happen to men. They happen to women, and then women, in order to people please quietly, we hold back our potential. It's interesting what she said that I wanna make really clear. She said, now get this, you're a woman, you have a job, you have a family, you have several businesses that you run, not just one. You
Mm-hmm.
have responsibilities, and yet advisors are like, well, you don't have time to run your money, or you're not smart enough to run your money. It's very complex. Let me do it. Now, you are smart enough to run all these other things. You're smart enough to accomplish all
Mm-hmm.
these other tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But with your own money, do me a favor and let me handle it for you. And you think, oh, God, relief. Somebody's finally helping me do something that I can, offload onto someone else. So you think, let's go get the advisor. But a lot of women, that's how they hide their survivor's guilt. That's how it's like when you get to be a high net worth woman, let's
Mm-hmm.
just be honest right now. You may be the first high net worth woman in your family. You
Mm-hmm.
could be the first college educated woman. There's responsibilities of you that are quietly there from your ancestors about what you're to achieve, how you're to make a difference. And what happens is you start seeing more people with their hand out asking that
Mm-hmm.
you love, that you care about, and you don't want to say no to them. So here's why the advisor wins. And you get market investment because it's your way of saying no. Well, actually, my advisor has the money. He's already invested it. And I don't really have to do anything. My advisor, I don't have money to give you. So you don't have to confront the problem that you feel this kind of guilt that you don't feel like your job is to take care of them, or you don't get trapped losing money taking care of them because you don't want to feel the pain of
Mm-hmm.
watching your loved ones suffer. So that financial suffer. And when they ask once, they're going to ask again and again and again and again until you put in place something where you can have a task for the dollar. And so that's the thing I really liked it. I thought my job was to spend it versus allocate it. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the big difference. And when you get to the point where wealth happens, true wealth, you have to shift. I'm telling you, you have to shift
You
from
do.
investor
You do.
to somebody who stewards their wealth, stewards what they own and takes a look at it. And what happens then is um, there's a bridge going from investor where there's a big long performance piece. And then this quiet investor comes up. And sometimes a quiet investor is here because you don't want anyone to know.
Mm-hmm.
If they know, then they'll start asking. And what you said, interestingly enough, is when you get to a high net worth area, high net worth money, all these private equity people start finding you. You don't know where they're finding you, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
And you get invited to these private equity investment deal things so that you can get money. I still get those all the time. And the second you start investing, they give you a sense of pride. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you like, I'm a private investor, not a market investor. I'm a private investor.
Mm-hmm.
And that feeling rubs your ego in such a way. It's like me. I wanted to tell somebody, I wanted somebody to be proud of me. And that's the thing about being a leader. The person who's proud of you is God, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah.
There it stops there. Just God is proud of you. And everybody else wants to receive from you. You're the leader, therefore I want you to acknowledge me, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm right. They, uplift me somehow, or, like your friends, write a book with me, introduce me to your people, and take that. You have to protect all of that. You have to protect the entire line that
Yes.
you're on. And women do not know how to protect their own wealth. They're servers.
Mm-hmm.
And that server mentality doesn't always have a boundary around it.
You know, Vicki, something that you said was so powerful a while ago. You're talking about first generations,
Mhm.
and it can be first generation college student, of course, but first generational wealth, I think, is not talked about enough. You're the first one in your family to succeed, to go to college, to have a high paying job. It's like almost whenever, for instance, on social media, there's an algorithm. And if you learn the algorithm and you play the game, when you hit a certain mark, you get more opportunities,
Yeah.
right? Even on Substack, you hit like 100 subscribers and then you get, bonuses. So you don't know until you get there that there's this whole other world. So when you're making, 100,000, 200,000, you don't really know. You're earning good, and your friends are like going to these meetings. You're like, how are you going? Well, at this time, I have a trust. I have a attorney,
Yeah.
and everyone that plans everything. They have my data, and it's almost like when the pharmaceutical sales go to the doctor. They're like, hey, you have these patients that have this and that. You have people that are making, $500,000 a year, and they don't know what to do with their money. They're tired of investing in the the public
Yeah.
market. Send them this invitation. They're going to get a cut, but they feed. There's a lot of data out there anyway. But when you go there and you see these people, you're like, they've been coming the whole time. I'm new to the party. You've been here like this is our third meeting. Your third meeting. Tell me about the meeting. How come I don't know this? And so you just feel this sense of belonging and pride and like you arrived. And the people that are there giving you all these atta girls and atta boys. It's not even real. It's just not even real. But people get mad at you for that. They get mad at you because you're there and they're not. That they feel like you've arrived and you haven't. We all want to win. We all want success. Whatever that looks like to, you are the next person. We all just want to be successful. But somehow it always comes down to money. It always comes down to the dollar. It doesn't come down to intellect or wittiness, how well you dress, how much money are you making. That's the deciding factor on whether or not I see you as successful or not. And it's a shame. But I mean, just being honest, sometimes, when you're performing well, whose car is the most expensive? whose shoes are the most expensive in the room. That doesn't mean you have more money. It just means that you're performing better than I am.
That's right.
And you could be in debt. Like you could be one paycheck away from going bankrupt with red bottoms on and
Yeah.
having a Gucci bag with $1 in it. Because nobody can't see what your bank account looks like. So back to what you were saying, just it hurts in a way when you do have survivor's guilt. That first generation wealth as a female, I think hits harder as a female than it does as a man.
Yep.
I have people in my family that have been doing well. They don't care about that. The men, they don't care about them. That's the expectation. They expect for them to do well. They expect for them to succeed. On the other hand, what am I doing? What am Vickie, when I did the book, right, and they want to say, well, now they know I'm educated, I'm smart, like I read, I'm there.
You do. Yeah.
And I teach my children, and my children are intellectually strong. They're academically gifted. But what are you doing writing the book? How long did it take you to write the book? What's going on with that? Basically, like, I couldn't write a book. Or I'm not supposed to write a book. Or maybe I'm supposed to write a book, but I'm not supposed to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you. I get you.
Yeah. It's really a shame how women are looked at in this area. And then we feel so guilty about having success and about achieving to the point where you're just like, you know what, I don't even want to anymore. I don't want to write another book. I don't want to be a number one bestseller again. It's too much pressure.
It is a lot, but it's going to happen again because we're writing another book. But here's the thing that I want to step into for women. I want to talk to the woman who thinks money isn't important. Money is bad. Money is not spiritual. If all you want is money, you're a bad person. So again, I'm looking at what money blocks are sabotaging your wealth. If you think that way, then you're struggling.
Yes.
And I'm a very contrarian opinion. I tell all the students I work with, the thing is, you want all the money, all of it. You want all the money. And the reason you want all the money is because you're going to do more good with that money than what's being done right now. There is so much corruption with money, and you don't want to be associated with it. Great. Get all the money and deploy it differently. And that's what Monique was saying. She was saying, look, I thought money was for spending. I didn't deploy it to anything. And when you build wealth and you deploy wealth and you own, you become powerful, very powerful, because you can call your shots. And that's kind of the thing that we're looking right now. I'm like, listen, ladies, we want all the money. You want the corruption to stop? Get all the money in right here and deploy it differently in a non-corrupt way that benefits everyone. And so the thing is, the first person you have to benefit is you. You have to be the richest woman. So I'm going to talk about J.K. Rowling, who's probably, after 48 books, I still haven't made $1 billion. But in 7 books, J.K. Rowling made $1 billion. And the thing is, every single day, she wrote checks for money to certain things. Like she literally spent years deploying her money until she was no longer a billionaire. She was a multimillionaire. The joy of deploying money in that way. Could you imagine? She was like, anything she wanted to deploy it to. But first thing she had to do was get all the money.
Get all
you
the money.
Can't deploy it if it's not there. So your potential that's holding it back, where you're sabotaging your wealth, it comes down to a lot of things. One, the first thing we've been talking about is people get mad at you. I don't know what's happening, but I'm hearing feedback. and then it goes away and the feedback comes. So do me a favor and give me some grace while we're talking so that you can hear what we're saying. I don't know what it is, but we have a bit of feedback. So
I just turned my volume almost all the way down. Did that help?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I still hear it. There's like another microphone on somewhere. I don't know if it's you or me or what's happening, but I just hear a little feedback. My bad. So please give us a little grace. This is a new podcast and we're working on it as we grow into it.
And that's how they know it's live.
That's right. That's how they know it's live. That's how you know it's not AI and we're real people in real time. Thank you. So the first thing that is missing is trust.
Yes.
One, trust. You have to trust yourself with your money. And a lot of women don't. They
Mhm.
get money and they're like, let's go shopping, let's go do this. And they blow that money. If you don't trust yourself with money, money isn't going to show up and it's going to quietly sabotage you. The next thing is what Monique has been talking about so lovely is that when you start reaching a certain level of income, here come the schemes and the scams. The schemes of private investing, the scams of losing your money to something that was they're just like bees start coming over to your money hive and saying invest over here, invest over there, and there's the people pleasing and the giving it away and the schemes
Yeah.
and the scams. Women are like, I don't want to be schemed or scammed, so I'm going to protect my money, and that blocks your potential for wealth. You want all the wealth so it can be deployed in a way that is gracious and lovely. And so the next thing is people. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. Back in the day when it was online business, one of the ways that you showed receipts is that you took screenshots or you opened your accounts back office live on a webinar so people could see this sale and this sale and this sale and this sale. And then on the bottom, there was the total amount that you had made that day. Hey, it's 3 questions deep. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. So that's the old school way of doing it. And I used to do that. I was like, see, this is a proven system. You can do it. Here's sales all day long. But at the bottom, it showed how much money you made in 30 days. And so what ended up happening, and I would like to question men for this as well, because I think it happened more because I was a woman. And back in the day, there wasn't a lot of online women sales people. They were just so
Right.
what ended up happening was I was getting DM'd all the time for people asking me for money. My family is struggling. I had friends just constantly, people I didn't
Mhm.
know, I'd never met asking me for money because they saw the receipts. So I was like, okay, this isn't working for me
Right.
because all I can
To
all
expose.
yes, it's too exposing. And lucky for me, I was secure in where I was, but I didn't live where I live right now. Where I live right now is very purposeful because of that reason.
Right.
So, what happened was all these people were asking me for money and they could see that it was there. And on some occasions, I remember thinking, I have to figure out how to tell them no politely because you don't want to lose your people who buy from you. But
Mhm.
I'd have somebody that bought a $45 product and then asked me for $1,000. So they looked like they were buying something from me and they were then asking me for $1,000.
Right.
Then the schemes and the scams show
Mhm.
up all the time, phishing scam, everything trying to get your money. And I think that happened to me. I'm guessing because I'm a woman. I'm not sure if it happens to men that way. And I'm curious. I'm curious for the men. Did they get a bunch of people asking for money?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we're talking about this topic today because we know a lot of money is going to be in women's hands over the next few years.
Yeah,
And women are going to be
big bunch.
inheriting money from the baby boomers. from
Mm-hmm.
people leaving companies and death, the whole influx of wealth is coming to women. So when we think of what are the ways that we're being sabotaged,
Yeah.
this is such a good topic because it's just preparing women. And, we may have some men who want to chime in and tell us if they were the ones being scammed as well. But I know too that with the mindset, we're talking about ways that we're being sabotaged is, and one of my friends was telling me, so she left a great 6-figure job. Unlike you, Vickie, you're in a place where you live where it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surrounded by a lot of people that make a lot of money all the time. Like I'm
Yeah.
in a big city. And she left her good paying 6-figure job so that she could start her own company,
Mm-hmm.
doing her own consulting based on what she does at her job. And she didn't get paid 6 figures right away.
Yeah.
And it was because she had a wealth mindset that was impoverished. She could not see herself making money as an independent person the way that she could a 9 to 5. The way that the 9 to 5 would pay her, the way that she would get the vacation, whether she would get bonuses, whether she would get promoted. And so that was the thing that had her stuck, was
Mm.
the dependency
Yeah.
on a 9 to 5 and not being able to shift. I was telling the same energy and time that you spent doing that and getting up first thing in the morning and making phone calls and making your coffee and then hitting the road. Why wouldn't you invest that into your own business? Well, they had millions of dollars and they
Mm.
could do it and they knew how to hire people. They hired you and you're smart enough. You're the one that made them all that money. You managed so much money for
Yeah.
the company, but you can't manage your own money. And it's almost insane to say it out loud, but it happens. It's like you are managing hundreds of $1 millions over here. You
Yeah.
are doing great. So much so that people are willing to hire you outside the company, but you're not asking your worth.
That's
The reason
right.
why you're not making 6 figures is because you don't see your value unless you're with the company, unless you have that branding and tell everybody who you work for. You don't see the value in what you're doing.
And let's face it, ladies, that what she's talking about is how you sabotage yourself. It's how you quietly shove your potential down. And that's what we're talking about. How are your money blocks? These are unconscious money blocks that women have. It's like trust, schemes, scams. And it's, being able to be paid 6 figures over here. But then when you start your own business, you're like, hi, 5 figures. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You're skilled enough. Your boss knows that you can at least 3x to 10x his business income. So you got to learn to believe in yourself. And a lot of times we quietly don't believe in ourselves and then wonder why we're struggling with money. Now,
Mhm.
here's the other thing. I had to become okay and like money. Now, here's the thing. I couldn't be okay when it was just all about me and spending what I wanted.
Right.
So I did the performing wealth thing, and I like every 2 years I have a new car
Mhm.
and or whatever I want. And I go on big trips. And when I go on a date, I let them know that I have my own money and I can take care of myself and you in a way that you've never even expected to have happen. And so there's a point where I started showing off. Now, here's the thing. Money hangs around a show off for a little bit of time. And here's the thing with money. You either are going to show off or show up. That's your
Yeah.
choices.
Yes.
And when you show up for money, you steward it. You don't show it off or buy stuff. There's a difference between having money and being stuck in I'm an independent woman and being an undependent woman. And the thing is, when you show up for money, you steward it, you allocate it, you give it a role, you give it a job, you give it a
Mm-hmm.
mission. And when you have that in your heart and you understand that money is something you steward, then
Yes.
you want all the money. You want all the money you can make. Imagine right now, we've been talking about J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series.
Mm-hmm.
She's the first woman, first author who was a literary billionaire. And so her franchise, everything about it, she made so much money. She got all the money. She became a
Mm-hmm.
billionaire. And then she became humanitarian, literally spent every day writing checks out to all kinds of things. If
Mm-hmm.
she didn't go for all the money, look at how many things on this side would be hurting for money right now, hurting for money. So the difference you can make means that you have to accept that you have a skill set of
Mm-hmm.
manifesting money, which is another form of manifesting opportunities and choices. And that's kind of what we're doing. So I want to talk, we talked about the survivor's guilt, but here's the next reason a lot of women cap their potential of making money. And that's because they're worried about being used.
Mm-hmm.
They're worried about that narcissistic male that swept them off their feet. And when they swept them off their feet, they also swept out their bank account. And you've heard other girls like, I thought he loved me. Then you find out he was cheating on you and he had vacuumed all the money out. And you're worried about being used because you have money.
Vickie,
So,
what I don't understand is this, and maybe you can help me, or maybe
mhm.
one of the listeners can help me out. You don't mind your job squeezing every ounce of your time, talent, and resources out of you. You don't mind that. You don't mind having no ownership and everything be permission based. But when it comes down to who you allow in your space, you don't see the pattern. Like if I go to work right now, I'm not going to say that.
Did your alarm just go off in the house? this is this is how you know it's live right now. But I want to go back to what she said because I just think this is so important. You don't mind being used at your work. You don't mind getting underpaid, overworked, underbenefited, overtaxed. You don't mind any of that. And yet, suddenly, you don't see the pattern that happens over here. You don't mind being used and abused. And then you don't see it materializing in your other relationships where it's being used and abused. No wonder why. No wonder why we're struggling. That I think is one of the best points. And I just I'm just laughing like, "Oh my gosh, this happens." Well, this is what happens when you have live video. You have feedback, you have all kinds of things. Go ahead. Can you talk now? Is it safe?
I can't. It's my fire alarm. So one of my children was cooking,
And set
and
off the fire alarm. Do you need to go attend to that? Because you can just block your camera for a second and I'll and go attend to that if it needs
okay,
to. Yeah. So, what we're looking at right now is this is what happens and why we go live because I know that when we're not live, it can look like AI did this or AI did that or whatever. But when you go live, this is what happens. So, I want to talk about that. I don't want to lose that point. You don't mind being used over here as long as they pay you a dollar over here, as long as they give you money. You don't mind being abused, used, undercharged, taken for granted, overworked, and dismissed. You don't mind that, but you don't see how this that happens in your work life rolls into your relationship life, where you're okay with the same disgusting habits over here that you are here. And a lot of women are afraid of being used, but they're being used at their job right now. They're being used in a way that keeps them trapped. It keeps them dependent. It keeps them groveling. It keeps them literally trapped in a cage. And they don't see, oh, what happens here happens here. Harv Eker used to have this saying. He'd say, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
And that relationship you have over here, where it's, I'm used at work, underappreciated at work, lied to at work, kept burnout at work, lack of pay, lack of benefits, but I'm still going to go to work. You don't see how that plays out with all the other relationships in your life. The
Mhm.
pattern is set by you. It's not set by anybody else. That was such a powerful thing to say. How do we sabotage ourselves? How is it that we actually are quietly sabotaging our potential and our wealth? Where are we holding back in life because we're scared or worried about the abuse that we think is happening to us, not that we are creating for us? And man, that was a powerful thing. And so I think the alarm went off as a divine intervention. It's a clue. The alarm went off right after she said that. And I think that was the divine saying, here it is, here it is, here it is.
Mhm.
This is what you're
Thank you,
manifesting.
too.
This is what you're manifesting.
Mhm.
And whether you believe in the law of attraction doesn't matter. Manifestation comes from who you are, how you think. It's like there are times when you get down on your knees and you pray separately. But the truth is, you pray every day, all the time, every moment of the day. How you're feeling, what you're saying, what you're doing, what you believe, those are all prayers. And all of them, if you're not looking at how you sabotage yourself and how you block that. Thank you for that, Monique. That was such a powerful thing. I didn't want to lose it. And I'm glad that you're.
No, thank you for continuing and just elaborating on my point. You did an excellent job. I was still listening as I was managing my house at the same time. For the listeners who
Mhm.
don't know, I have a lot of children, so I was
So
like,
we were talking about the ways into which we block ourselves, quiet self-sabotage, money self-sabotage. And one of them was that we were being used. And I want to change that word, because being used means you have no culpability. You didn't know you were being used. Somebody lied to you, which we love to take that on instead of tell ourselves the truth. And you just cut right through that and said, here's the truth. This is the truth. You're creating usury.
mhm,
When you stop this, then you have created the gateway or opportunity to have healthy boundaries, healthy relationships with money.
yes,
And you want all the money. Now, here's the thing. If you want all the money so you can perform wealth and show off wealth and do wealth, it's going to burn a hole through your pocket, because you are creating usury. You
mhm,
are showing it off in that way, and you're creating usury. And I want to talk about flipping the script right now with Monique, because she said something earlier where she said, I thought a dollar was to spend and manage. I didn't think it was there to deploy.
mhm,
And when we talk about deploying, stewarding wealth is deploying it and not just showing it off or giving it to an advisor so you feel better. Okay, you run my money, even though you've never made as much money as I have. You
right,
tell me how to do that. So the thing is, I want to talk about how the shift from performing wealth to deploying wealth, where you thought, I need to move from being complacent to strategic and stewarding wealth. And how did you cross that bridge in your mindset? And how does it feel now when you're doing this? Because I know that you're a smart woman. The advisors are there, great, but you don't need them. You
Yeah,
can learn it. You're a smart woman.
yeah, the advisors are pretty much done, right? Like,
Hmm.
except for some assets, because trust, and that's a whole nother conversation. But as
Yeah,
far
that's
as
lawyers.
day-to-day wealth management, no. Once we realized, the crypto conversation, the private wealth and private equity conversations weren't going in the direction that we thought that they would.
Yeah, didn't you say you had fired 3 financial advisors
Yes.
before you got a clue that, okay.
Well, this is what happens. Fired one, but then I asked my friends, hey, who are you using? Can you give me a referral?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking that they're doing good. I'm thinking that their financial advisors know what they're talking about. I even know a lot of financial advisors. I have friends who are financial advisors. And so, and that's why it's funny sometimes that I talk about it in a contrarian way, because we go back and forth. But hey, what are you doing? What are you investing in? Oh, I'm investing, like I was telling you, in hotels overseas. Oh, how do we do that? Let us invite us to the meeting. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, my gut is just telling me this is off. This is off. Okay, you can get your ROI in 5 years. You can do this and that. They may have another round or two. The investors, I was like, this is just the same thing. I just left, just dressed up in a different costume.
Yeah.
It's fancier, it's more opportunities, it's overseas, it's this, it's that. And that's how I got into, dual citizenship and just investing in properties overseas. And some deals worked, some didn't. And then the ones that did a big flop, you've already invested so many thousands into it. Like in the private market, you can't invest a small amount. That's not even an option. Like you do that on the public market. In the private, sector, they want large amounts. They want you to invest in their products, in their deals, and their companies, and their ideas, and whatever they're investing in. They need a lot of money to get it done. They need millions, so they only want to get it done with a few, so they can hurry up and get the money up. And I just, okay, now you're fired. Hey, does anybody know somebody that knows what they're doing in this space? And then I just started reading and doing my own research, and I found one more, and he was dual. He was a wealth attorney, so managing, and a lot of ideas I thought were contrarian weren't. They were still market based, and that's just where the conversation ended, because a lot of things that I no longer wanted to invest in, you're pushing me toward the magnificent step, and the market's not doing what it's going to do.
That's right.
I started investing. I made some money, but at the same time, I knew that's not long term. And if I take my money out, how much am I going to get? Because I've got to pay you. I got to pay this person, that person. Everybody's going to get a cut. So I'd rather just buy commodities, own and control myself versus have somebody else do it. And it took a huge mindset shift. And I was blocking a lot of money that I could have been making by hiring someone. Now, I'm not saying hiring a financial advisor or planner is a bad idea. If you don't know what you're doing, you got to get help.
Yeah.
Get that help until you get there. But because I had already done deals and I had already seen a lot and experienced a lot, I knew for myself what I felt was a good investment. It wasn't. But the mindset took me from the 3 that I was at to the 9, going back to the beginning of the conversation, on where I felt I was now, a 9, because of what I own and how I have it set up. I'm managing it. If I take the loss and the hit, it was myself. It wasn't somebody else. And whenever I own, I can easily get rid of it. I can turn it into cash.
Yeah.
I don't have to get penalized. I don't have to get fees and taxes and everything else on my money to the level that I would have over here. So
Mhm.
I just feel like I'm in a better place. And
Yeah,
even though the economy is going up and down, my land isn't going up and down with it.
that's
It's
right. That's
whatever I,
right.
if I feed myself, if I turn it into a parking lot, whatever I want to do with it, is not dependent on the government, what they're saying, or war. Like it's independent of everything else that's going on. So I don't see it fluctuating. Like if the market takes a downturn, I can still eat.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I want to go over now that we are like, here's the self sabotage. Well, how do you get yourself out of it? So I'm going to share what I did
Hmm.
to move myself out of it. I want to let you know stewardship is like getting a 4-year degree. It's not like you suddenly are. So I started off, my dad made his money illegally.
Hmm.
And then he would launder it and invest it, but he never invested in market investments. I was embarrassed in his shame, so I swung the other way and I got all the licenses with all the things to learn about how to make money legally. And
Hmm.
so what was interesting was I learned how corrupt this was. And I learned that this was more corrupt than this was. And I got what it was my dad was trying to teach me. And then I realized I could do this legally. I don't sell drugs to make money. That's not it. So here's the thing. I started with a scope down here. And the first thing you have to start doing, first thing is believe in yourself. Believe that you can learn to deploy money in such a way that it makes you wealthy, stable, and powerful. And
Yes.
for a woman, it is okay to be wealthy, stable, and powerful. That's your birthright. And it's the thing that your ancestors worked their butts off to give you the right to be wealthy, stable, and powerful. So now let's deploy that. In the
Hmm.
beginning, when I started, my dad was like, first you make the stabilization layer. And the stabilization layer for me had three things in it. One, metals. I started with metals because I was not a rich college student. So I was very good at silver and gold. Now, back then, silver was an ounce and gold was only an ounce. And so Noah was getting off that boat at that time. So we both bought gold and silver. So the thing is, so the thing is, I started with commodities first because they're good stabilizations. And then I started commodities, skill sets, and when I started, there was no internet, there wasn't something else. So the skill set I learned was how to run a business, no matter what you do, no matter what. Even AI is moving you how to run a business. So back then, you had to have a brick and mortar business. You had to have business partners, employees, blah, blah, blah. So I learned to do that. And then the third thing that I did was I learned to observe, witness and observe. So, what I mean by witness and observe is sometimes they always say success leaves clues.
Yes.
So, how do you witness and observe? You read books. And back then, reading books, we had no internet, we didn't have AI. I
Hmm.
read books and I read at least 1 to 2 books a week. I
Hmm.
was constantly educating myself. Now, did I make mistakes? Did I lose money? Did I feel bad losing money? Did I keep going? Yes.
Yeah.
And so what happened is, the second run, the thing I did was back then there were choices. If you wanted to get rich, real estate was your gig or financial services. I
Hmm.
went to financial services. I don't know why, but real estate isn't my thing. I'm like, okay, so I have rental properties. I just see that as more work. So with financial services, I saw that you could build a book of business and not have to work some more. And I was like, okay, this one. So one of the things I did when I learned all of that, I just kept learning. Now, I am a big Jim Rickards fan, and I love Rogers, his first name, I'm forgetting it, but he is the number one commodities guy, and I read all his books as they came out. So that first layer is the layer that you're always investing in.
Mhm.
You're always investing in your stability layer. Now it goes up like a pyramid, okay? So once I got to here and I got all the licenses and I kept doing that, opportunities will appear. So as the opportunities appear, then the next layer comes up. And
Mhm.
in that next layer, it is now the opportunities that came up for us was I was there when the internet was starting to be online in 1995. So one of my mentors told me, you always invest in the future and not in the past. And I never forgot that. Every new technology. So imagine if you bought Microsoft for $1. So imagine if you bought gold at 150 or $200.
Mhm.
So imagine if you took the lack of trendy, don't get trendy stuff because the dot-com boom happened
Mhm.
when we went to that next level. But you have to invest in your future. So you have to learn how investing in your future was. So what he told me, he long ago, and I'm forever grateful. He said, the number one skill you're going to need or have for the future is writing. And I was like, I don't know how to use Word. I'm a bad speller. I mean, really bad speller. I'm constantly shouting across the room, hey, Robin, how do you spell this? Or, hey, Monique, how do you spell this? Or looking it up online. But he was like, the number one skill set is that. And he said, here's the number two skill set. Whatever, and I want you to write this down, whatever people hate to do,
Mhm.
you do that and do it well, and you will be rich forever. So back then, they hated to do accounting, they hated to do business development, they hated to write a business plan. So I took those classes and I got really good at what they hated to do. I know what you hate to do right now, which is what we do. So I'm going to tell you what it is so that you know. People hate to have to go do it themselves and figure it out themselves. So we figure it out for you and we show you how to do it online. We set it up for you. I can get deployed a profitable business for my students that come on in 30 days, some as simple as 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So the thing is, how you're building your layer is going to stabilize you long term. And the skill sets you have, here's the stabilizing investments. And here is the thing, learn a skill set that people hate to do. And here's what I found out. When you get really good at a skill set that people hate to do, you love to do it. You love to be the one in the room. Everybody's like, how did she get so good at development? How did she get so good at strategy? How did she get? I just delved into what people hated to do. And they hated to do it because they think it's hard. And I
Mhm.
stopped telling myself, this is hard. So after that next layer up here, the next layer that you absolutely have to have is joint ventures, networks, relationships.
Yes.
So this is the stack that's going. So when Monique and I met, we realized that we were more powerful together than we were separately. And in that, within the first 60 days, we wrote a number one best-selling book based on everything that we had learned together and
Mhm.
said, this is the thing everybody believes, and this is where they're getting caught, and this is where, and it's on Amazon. You can get it. It's $1 to change your life.
Right.
And because I read and I use books so much to educate myself, the value of doing that is also learning how to build the next rung, which is digital assets. So
Mhm.
you have real world assets here and digital assets up here. This is the plane that has stabilized my life, my wealth, my reputation. And I'm telling you this because right now AI is going to learn a lot of jobs and eliminate the easy things that people like to do. And what's going to be left is the things people hate to do, need to do,
Hmm.
need to figure out as we move from being a paycheck world to a steward your wealth world, a paycheck world. And that's when we end
Yeah.
this today. It's like, what money blocks are sabotaging your wealth? And even now, as I am, decades into this business and learning, I am still uncovering the things that have blocked me. I'm still uncovering these quiet self-saboteurs. I'm not sure they go away, but they deepen your skill, and they deepen your love, and they
Hmm.
deepen your gratitude
Yeah.
once you understand them. So we're at the top of the hour, but I want to leave some time for Monique, who's been letting me jabber here for a bit, to tell you this is how we build it. This is how I built that wealth thing in that pyramid, and the why we've done it in that way.
Yeah, if the why for me was a little bit different. Um, I had tried, and some things backfired. Like high risk, high reward. Not all the time is it going to end with a positive balance. Sometimes you take a hit, and it makes people afraid to move out of their comfort zone again. A lot of times, a loss, especially financial loss, will make you stop and say, you know what, I need to depend on somebody else from now on. I can't trust my own decisions. I can't trust the system. Or if it was somebody else, you can't trust them anymore. That's why I'm firing people left and right.
Yeah.
But but my why was I can't stop. If you have children, you look back and you have duplicated yourself, and you got to make sure that that person is good. And I don't want my children to live permission based. I don't want my children to think that they're not smart enough to handle their own finances. The hard work, or the work that we think is boring and that we don't want to do it because it's too hard, so we'll outsource it. That's the work that I want them to do too. I want them to say, you know what, I'm going to love it. Stop delegating your responsibilities to somebody else that you can do, that you are capable of doing. You graduate top of your class, you're smart, you're killing it on your job, you work the ladder. And what's funny, what I was going to say when the fire alarm went off, is that every time I starting to, so I'm in a career in real estate where you are looked at by how many sales you have, right? Like, you're the high closer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they started pivoting to who's the highest influencer. So they start asking you to speak in meetings, start asking you to show up more. They start asking you to take your gifts, talents, and abilities and continue to build them up and make them more money and to make the company look good. So my husband would always say, take a step back. I want you to look at the phone call that you just got. And I'm all excited and, oh, I'm going to be speaking and we're going to travel here. No, think about the reason why. And that's why I was saying we will allow our jobs to extract our time, our freedom,
Value.
everything out of you.
Yeah.
And we won't even notice that we're permission based when it
So
comes to
true.
that. So, just my why is, okay, I can't continue to let this pattern happen. It can't be generational. If I'm first generation, it's going to continue down. They won't be first generation having to go through anything else because they've already seen me do it and do it well and excel. Because I want all the money. I want all the money because I know what to do with it. And they will want all the money because they will see what to do with it. And they will also know the right way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, just growing my own food supply, understanding that you could be wealthy in ways that aren't monetary. If I don't grow enough food for, my whole city, if I just grow enough for me and my community, I
Yeah.
won't have done what I wanted to do, what I set out to do. I'll make some money short selling it, fine, whatever. But I won't have to depend on anybody to feed me and my family ever again. I don't have to say, okay, I got to stand in line for the rations and get what they give me, which may or may not be enough. I don't want to have the option to lack in certain areas that I can do better in. They say if you know better, do better. And if you can do a thing, you can teach a thing. So that's what rules.
Yeah. That's it. And I just want ladies to know that these self-sabotage blocks that are happening to you are not something that you created. A lot of them are handed to us.
Yes.
What we do when we become aware of them is that we're allowed to remove them, and you can replace them with who you actually are. And who you actually are is a gifted person with extremely good experience that has a sense of human decency and a sense of having community ties, network ties, everything else. And what it allows you to do is let everything rise. You see, when you are wealthy, everything else gets more wealthy. Everything
Mhm.
around you. And that is so important for you to understand that wealth is a proper spiritual practice
Yes.
because it allows you to build faith in yourself, faith in the divine, and faith in the places where you deploy the money. We're
Mhm.
not stupid. Wealth is a structure, and
Yes.
it's us first. If
Hmm.
you're the wealth machine, everything else, it's kind of like if you're cooking for 1,000 people today, who's the first person you should feed? Well, you,
You.
because you're going to be working your butt off to feed 1,000 people.
Hmm.
So you sit down and you eat first. And that's the thing about women. Women are taught we don't eat first. We cook and serve and make sure everybody in the tribe is fed before we are. And that we're going to flip that script right now. You're the first person who needs to be fed. So I want to thank you today for joining us for this conversation.
Yes.
And we're going to have more of these conversations together. And I just want to say thank you, Monique, for, being the fabulous co-host of
And
this
thank
show. I
you.
just,
You rock.
you know, I know you rock too. I just love it. All right, listen, next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be having this conversation again. And we'll talk to you then. See you later. Thanks for joining us on the Wealth Rules podcast. By the way, subscribe, subscribe,
Yes.
subscribe, subscribe. Hit that button. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.